Here's a look at the stories happening in your neighborhood.
Across the country, people are going to know that the UAW is ready to stand up for our communities and ready to stand up against corporate greed.
Coming up on Fox 47 News in your neighborhood, more calls to the picket lines as Lansing workers join the strike.
We're hearing from the workers at the picket line on GM's Lansing distribution plant. What they're saying coming up.
And what does that mean here in Lansing?
People have bills to pay, that they still need to make those payments.
A closer look at the economic impact.
And UAW workers like here at Blue Cross Blue Shield have been on the picket lines for over a week now.
This is historic, and they know that. They don't need to hear it from me.
Their message of support for workers now going on strike.
Fox 47 News in your neighborhood starts now.
So today, at noon Eastern Time, all of the parts distribution facilities at General Motors and Stellantis are being called to stand up and strike.
The UAW strike is now impacting families right here in Lansing. Good evening, I'm your neighborhood reporter, Asia Lawrence. GM workers at this parts plant off Mount Hope Road walked off a job and onto the picket lines today. Tonight we have team coverage on how this could affect workers, local economy, and supply chains. Let's start with what we've learned tonight.
Invest these record profits into stable jobs and sustainable wages and benefits. It's that simple.
Over the 2 months of contract negotiations between the UAW and the Big Three automakers, President Shawn Fain's stance has not changed.
It's time to stand up against corporate greed. It's time to stand up for our communities.
And on Friday, for the first time, Fain called on local auto workers to stand up and join the strike. More than 200 workers at GM's Lansing Redistribution Center walked out of the building shortly after noon. They made up a group of 38 parts distribution plants throughout 20 states on Friday to join the strike.
UAW family, I'll see you on the picket line.
And shortly after that statement, Fain joined the picket lines and joined hands with those fighting in Michigan. Fain said progress has been made with Ford Motor Company, but as for General Motors and Stellantis,
both companies are still offering a deficient cost of living allowance that is projected to provide zero increases over the next 4 years.
General Motors sent this statement Friday, quote, "Today's strike escalation by the UAW's top leadership is unnecessary. The decision to strike an additional 18 of our facilities, affecting more than 3,000 team members, plus their families and communities, adds validity to the blueprint identified in last night's leaked text that the UAW leadership is manipulating the bargaining process for their own personal agendas." While negotiations continue, parts distribution plants across the nation, including right here in Lansing, are now on the front lines of the strike. We dug a little deeper into the Lansing Redistribution Center. The 2.3 million square foot facility opened in 1960. It houses a little more than 200 employees. According to GM's website, workers here help replenish part distribution centers and fill customer referrals and dangerous goods orders. And those workers on the front lines had a lot to say coming out of the plant. Let's bring in your neighborhood reporter, Larry Wallace. Larry, what were you hearing today?
Yeah, Asia, like you said, I did talk to a few of those workers on the picket line today, and all of them seem to have agreed on one thing. They're willing to stay on this picket line until their voices are heard.
Out in the line, you walk the picket, hold out the sign, hold up a fist for solidarity, and, just make people aware of what we are and who we are and what we're doing.
Jacob Tomac was one of a couple hundred workers called to the picket line at General Motors Lansing Distribution Center.
It's about time that, like I said, we get our fair share.
The auto workers started striking against the Big Three because they wanted things like better health care, pay, and the cancellation of a tiered wage system. All things GM worker Alexia Wright says are needed.
We have families out here. We're struggling, most of us living paycheck to paycheck. We work a lot of hours. We need a little more money. You need to help us out. We do a lot for you.
The Lansing GM plant was one of 38 plants added to the strike on Friday, and some aren't surprised that Lansing was called to the fight.
We've all been talking about it for years and pushing each other to save and, hold on to money to prepare for the possibility of strike.
The last GM versus UAW strike lasted for about 40 days, and strikers say they're prepared to walk the picket line this time as long as they need to until they get what they're demanding.
My job is dangerous and just as important as anybody else's at the UAW, and I shouldn't be left out.
Now, the UAW local president told me that these workers will be out here all night. For now, reporting here in Lansing, I'm Larry Wallace, Fox 47 News.
This strike could have a big impact on our local economy. We spent the day talking with some experts about what this means for our area. Here's what we learned.
About $1.6 billion. That's how much experts say the United Autos workers strike cost the U.S. economy after 1 week and after Friday's decision to go on strike at a parts distribution center here in.
And those workers on the front lines had a lot to say.
About $1.6 billion. That's how much experts say the United Autos workers strike cost the U.S. economy after 1 week and after Friday's decision to go on strike at a parts distribution center here in Lansing. We wanted to know what the impact might be for us. All right, here we go. A little over a mile away from the parts distribution center for General Motors in Lansing, you'll find Spud's Family Restaurant.
It's Greek-based, Greek-owned.
A spot where some UAW workers grab a bite to eat and feel right at home.
Over the years, we've always had GM workers here.
Lisa Hatchard is a manager who has been working at the restaurant for 20 years.
All right, I'll get you a box, Julie.
And just like everyone else, she is hoping the strike will be over soon.
It'll affect the whole economy. It'll affect, any auto workers area, Lansing, Detroit, whatever.
Lost wages is a major loss for the local economy.
Christina Benton is the director of market industry analysis at the Anderson Economic Group.
One of the industries in which we specialize is the automotive industry.
From the beginning, they've been looking at the types of losses a strike against the Big Three would have on the economy.
One of those things we looked at was lost wages by workers, by the striking workers or by workers that laid off.
And the people that don't have that weekly paycheck
are going to be more cautious and will think twice about spending money.
In places that might see an impact,
grocery stores, other retailers in the area, restaurants, gas stations.
Spots like Spud's Family Restaurant.
Everybody doing okay? You want more coffee?
But Lisa says they aren't worried about it affecting their business too much.
Well, we've been through a lot here. We've been through ice storms, and we've been through COVID, and we've been through power outages, and many, many things, and we're still standing. We're not going anywhere. I can guarantee you that.
In Lansing, I'm your neighborhood reporter, Tiana Jenkins, Fox 47 News.
With the recent UAW announcement calling to expand the strike, not only are manufacturing plants included, but supply distribution centers as well. And I dove a little deeper into the main reason for targeting those supply chain centers.
Striking a facility that would be a distribution point, it directly impacts consumers like you and I.
Michigan State professor Amy Broglin said those impacts include the possibility of consumers not having access to new vehicles or not being able to get the parts to repair the car you already have.
You or I may not have the ability to, have a functional vehicle should something happen and the need arise in our dealership or the network is not able to supply that part.
And without those parts, mechanics may not be able to do the job.
Basic maintenance needs, we have accidents which occur every day. There's warranty issues at play.
And if the strike continues for service departments, consumers, and small businesses,
this is really going to get painful very quickly.
There is a big UAW presence here in our neighborhoods, and some are on strike, but many others aren't. Our team coverage continues now with a look at UAW workers from around the area.
More than 1,400 workers inside of this GM plant will still be on the job next week, along with 2,800 workers at the Delta Township plant. Those workers have been on standby for a possible strike since it began a week ago. Friday, we asked dozens of those UAW workers how they were feeling about the strike, but none of them wanted to comment. This plant makes the Chevy Camaro and the Cadillac CT4 and CT5, but no plants that manufacture vehicles were targeted in Friday's round of strikes. In your neighborhood, I'm Russell Shelberg, Fox 47 News.
As more General Motors workers hit the picket line, UAW workers here at Blue Cross Blue Shield have been on strike for over a week. Now they're reacting to having more workers join the fight for change.
Blue Cross is on strike. Tell them to treat us right.
While UAW workers at the Lansing GM Redistribution Center walked out to strike for the first day, UAW workers with Blue Cross Blue Shield walked along Capitol Avenue for the 8th day.
This has been a long week, but we're energized. These people are committed.
Blue Cross Blue Shield UAW Vice President Alan Harris says it's important to keep their message going every day.
We want a fair contract that, among other things, minimizes the outsourcing. We don't want to see Blue Cross Blue Shield of the Philippines. We want to see our retirees get health care insurance. We want to see them get pensions.
And was happy to hear UAW International President Sean Fain call on more Lansing workers to join the picket line.
They've supported us, and we certainly support them. They deserve everything they get. They make the greatest cars in the world.
With UAWs part of the Big Three and places like Blue Cross going on strike, Harris says it's a time for unity and a time to fight for change.
Years from now, we will remember how they joined us, we stood firm, and as a result, we're going to get a fair contract.
No matter how long it takes.
As long as it takes. Okay? Absolutely, as long as it takes.
We reached out to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan for comment regarding the ongoing strike. In a statement, they said they hope to resolve the situation quickly, consistent with the spirit of collective bargaining with their partners at UAW. The statement says some services will require longer wait times for customers and apologize for the inconvenience caused by this situation. Your neighborhood reporter in Lansing, Michaela Temple, Fox 47 News.
We'll be back with more UAW coverage right after this quick break. Welcome back, Mid-Michigan. I'm Asia Lawrence. Today, Lansing GM workers joined the UAW strike for the first time, but they weren't alone. As the UAW strike hits the 1-week mark, 36 cities now join the original 3 locations as more workers walk off the line and onto the picket line. Already, we've taken a look at what's happening in our backyard, so now we'll take another look at locations in Michigan and across the country.
The days of the billionaire class and the corporate class running away with all the profits while we're all left behind scraping to get by paycheck to paycheck, those days have to end.
Bain told the crowd that talks with the Big Three will continue throughout the weekend and that they'll shut down parts and distribution plants until the Big Three, quote, come to their senses. He said it's their fault that the strike has reached this level because they had 8 weeks to get a contract on the table and they waited 7 to start negotiating. Meanwhile, Stellantis has issued a statement saying in part, quote, the fact is we made a very competitive offer yesterday. That includes all of our current full-time hourly employees earning between $80,000 to $96,000 a year by the end of the contract. Yet we still have not received a response to that offer. America seems divided in whether they support the strike at this level. This afternoon, we did meet one person who traveled all the way to Michigan from Boston simply to show support.
But how do you feel about the hundreds or thousands of workers who work in automotive plants or supplier plants who are not part of the UAW, who are getting laid off today and losing their income that they need?
I think we have to look big picture. They're being laid off because of the bosses and because of the corporations. So I think what UAW is doing is actually modeling what auto workers across the country can fight for and do.
I'm Damon Maloney outside of the Stellantis Mopar Parts Distribution Center in Streetsboro, where at noon, 100-plus union workers went on the picket line, and here they remain. They are fighting for better wages, better worker protections, and better benefits. I spoke to one worker who has been in Streetsboro for 12 years. Her name is Beverly Wilson, and she had one challenge for all the CEOs of the Big Three. She says, come spend 1 hour in her shoes and work. And then they would know what this fight is all about. For Scripps News, I'm Damon Maloney.
I'm Andrew Rowan in Westchester, Ohio, where today at noon about 100 UAW workers walked off the job at the General Motors Parts Distribution Center. Let me show you, they're on the picket line, which is just up the street from the distribution center. Now, these guys striked back in 2019 for about 40 days, and they say they feel even more confident in the current national president, Shawn Fain's ability to get a contract that they agree with within the next couple of days, or they'll say they'll be out here as long as it takes. They're just waiting for news. In Westchester, Andrew Rowan, Scripps News, Cincinnati.
A gym teacher at McDonald Middle School in East Lansing has been placed on suspension after a verbal altercation with a student and staff member. Dennis Petrowitz has been placed on a 5-day suspension. A letter was sent out by Principal Amy Martin to middle school families, notifying them of an incident during 6-hour PE class on September 20th. The letter called the incident unprofessional and says district leaders will work with Petrowitz to meet standards of professionalism and communication when interacting with students and staff. In May, Petrowitz was placed on paid administrative leave for allegedly using a racial slur in class. He issued an apology letter taking full accountability for the incident. Petrowitz is set to return on September 29th. Your neighborhood reporter in East Lansing, Michaela Temple, Fox 47 News.
Summer is coming to an end as fall officially starts this weekend, and it looks like it could be a beautiful one. Let's take a look at our full forecast.
Here's a look at your full forecast, folks. Temperatures are going to be comfortable here tonight, pretty seasonable for this time of year, and it's a quiet end to summer. Thankfully, haven't really seen anything significant the majority of this week. Again, fall officially begins with the equinox at 2:50 a.m. here early Saturday morning. And then we got 3 months of fall, and tonight, or rather tomorrow, is the day we lose the most amount of daylight at any given time in the year, about 2 minutes and 54 seconds in one given day of daylight lost. We do have more fall-like temperatures settling in as well. Not major rain chances in the forecast, but a gradual cool down with a lot of systems around the Midwest region. Here's a look at temperatures overnight tonight. We'll fall back to the upper 50s right around daybreak, maybe mid-50s in some low-lying areas. But the big thing is future track is fairly quiet for us here over not only the next several hours, but could be the next several days. Now, overnight tonight, we start to see that east wind take hold. Keeps us quiet as we go through the next several hours. Notice cloud cover scattered in nature and really on the east side of the state, or rather the west side of the state, east side with the easterly wind staying comfortable. So mostly sunny skies here for the start of the weekend. As we go through the afternoon and into early Sunday morning, we're not going to be dealing with much in terms of cloud cover here for the majority of the weekend. By Sunday morning, we do start to see a few more clouds trickle in our area, but most of them along and west of US 127. So a good start to the weekend and a good end to the weekend here across the mid-Michigan area. All the rain chances that are at least around the Great Lakes for now are well west of Lake Michigan. Here's a look at future wind gusts for your weekend as well. It's going to be quiet for the most part, but just keep in mind this wind is out of the east. So it means warmest air is going to be along Lake Michigan shoreline here, east side of the state, going to be a little chillier with the cooler air coming off of Lake Huron and Lake Erie. Winds remain that way into Sunday afternoon, more of a northeasterly flow. So temperatures may be a degree or two cooler than what we're expecting here for your Saturday. High going to be in the upper 70s for most of us. I think may see an isolated 80. Depends on the timing of the stronger winds picking up. But our average high right now, well, it's only 72 degrees across the region. So we're starting to see these come back down. We'll be in the 60s by the end of next week. But not a lot of relief in sight for rain chances if we need it in some areas. We're not looking to get it here, at least significantly, in the long-term forecast. So a gorgeous weekend ahead. Those temps in the 70s. Monday, low 70s. We'll be back in the 60s for a couple of days. Again, much more seasonable air. And the best chance for rain looks to be Tuesday afternoon and evening, but even that is not significant accumulations before the sunshine and warmer air return by the end of next week. Well, here's another look at the Super 7-day forecast. 75 and sunshine for your Saturday. That's the first day of fall. Officially, the first full day of fall is on Sunday. Still almost a summer-like day. Nice sunshine here for the weekend ahead. Outdoor plans will be good to go. Overnight lows, notice they remain in the mid-50s, maybe even upper 50s in some areas. Best chance of rain will be Tuesday evening, as some isolated showers may come in from the system out on the coast. Otherwise, cloud cover does stick around for the start of the week. Sunshine returns at the end of next work week.